Dear friends, welcome to the next session for Information Security Fundamentals. In today's session, we will begin with few networking fundamental concepts and also will learn about various topologies associated with a particular network. So let us get started. So basically, when we are talking about a computer network is a group of computers which are connected to each other through wires, optical fibers or optical links so that various devices can interact with each other through a network. So we have various communicating devices that are communicating with each other through a particular network or through internet, and they are connected with each other through a set of wires, optical fibers or optical links. So the aim of computer network is basically sharing of resources among various devices, whether they are located within the same location or they are located remotely. The primary idea behind a network is basically sharing of resources. In the case of computer network technology, there are several types of networks which can vary from simple to complex level. We will deal into more details of computer network terminologies and fundamentals when we do this particular subject separately. However, from information security perspective, we need to realize that we are sharing information between various devices which are connected to each other. So talking about the components of a computer network, or to establish a computer network, we first of all need a network interface card, or in short we also call it as NIC, a hub, cables and connectors to connect the devices, switches, router and a modem. So these are some of the basic components that we need apart from a computer system or a device in order to communicate or establish a network between the various devices. So first of all, let us look at what a network interface card or an NIC basically is. An NIC is a hardware component without which a computer cannot be connected over a network. It is a circuit board, basically a hardware component, which is shown here, which is basically a small device or a small hardware component that is installed in the computer, which provides dedicated network connection to the computer, and it is also called a controller, a network adapter or a LAN adapter. So basically whatever the wire will come in for internet, it is through this NIC. NIC allows both wired and wireless communications. For some it is a wireless NIC, for some it is a wired NIC. It allows between computers connected via local area network LAN, as well as communication over large scale network through internet protocols. So these are basically LAN and internet protocols, or MAN, WAN. All these are network configurations which varies from small or personal area network to a huge or very wide area network. So basically this NIC will allow communication between any type of configurations that are there based on its installation and based on its own configuration. It is a both physical layer and data link layer device, that is, it provides necessary hardware circuitry so that the physical layer processes and some data link layer processes can run on it. Now what are these physical layer and data link layer? As of now, we have to understand that the entire network is divided into different types of layers like physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer, etc. And each of these layers are capable of doing a specific functionality under certain protocols and guidelines that are associated with it. Now NIC will be enabling both the physical layer and data link layer, that means two different layer devices, to provide the service to the network and the connected devices in it. The second important component is a hub. A hub looks like a small box with a number of ports in it. It is basically a physical layer networking device or a hardware device which is used to connect multiple devices in a network. So they are generally used to connect computers in a LAN. Mostly hub is used for a single or a local area network, for example, which is in a particular building or particular room or a particular house. A hub has many ports in it. So in this image you can see that there are various ports in it and all the devices are connected to it. So a computer which intends to be connected to the network is plugged to one of these ports, and when a data frame arrives at the port, that means whenever some information or a message arrives at the port, it broadcasts to every other port without considering whether it is destined for a particular destination or not. So whatever is coming through, it is being distributed to all other systems in that particular network. So it is not basically, it does not identify to which particular receiver the sender is wanting to send or intending to send his message. It will broadcast all the messages, or it will send the messages whatever is coming in its port to all the other devices which are connected to that particular hub in a LAN. The next important component is a switch. A switch also looks like a hub. However, it is basically situated in the data link layer, which connects devices in a network and uses packet switching to send or receive data over the network. Now we have to understand that like a hub, it looks similar to a hub, and like the hub, it also has many ports to which the computers are plugged in. However, switch, we have to understand that it is basically between different networks. So however, when a data frame arrives at any port of the network switch, it examines the destination address and sends the frame to the corresponding devices. So that is the difference between a hub and a switch. In hub, the messages get broadcasted to every other system which is associated with that hub. However, in switch, whenever the sender sends a particular information or a message, it identifies to which particular receiver it has to send that particular message and accordingly sends that particular message. However, it also has the provision of broadcasting or sending the message to every other computers. So it has both unicasting and multicasting communications. The next important component is a router. So router involves two different network communication. So when you look at this particular image which is there, you will see that this is a network. This is a part of a separate network. This switch is a part of a separate network, and this switch is a part of a separate network. And the router is basically used to communicate between the two different switches situated in two different networks. So routers are networking devices operating at layer 3 or a network layer of the OSI model. Now OSI model is a model which categorizes the network into different layers. We will do this in our subsequent sessions. And they are responsible for receiving, analyzing and forwarding data packets among the connected computer network. So this computer network is connected with this computer network, and via a router, and the information is exchanged between the two networks using the router. So whenever a data packet arrives, the router inspects the destination address, consults its routing tables to decide what will be the optimal route, and then transfers the packet along with this route. Some of the famous or popular companies which manufactures routers are Cisco, D-Link, HP, 3Com, Juniper, Nortel, etc. So these are basically the various components that we will be using while establishing, while sending our information or establishing a network communication setup. So the fifth and the most important component is a modem. A modem is a device which enables a computer to send or receive data over telephone or cable wires. So the data stored on the computer is basically digital, whereas whatever we can transmit over the telephone or cable wire is only analog data. So we have to understand that we have to convert this analog data into a digital data so that it can be stored in a particular information center or a computer system, so that it can be read and used based on the user's choice. The main function of this modem is to convert digital signal into analog and vice versa, which is analog to digital. So it is basically the combination of two devices which is known as modulator and demodulator. So modem, MO stands for modulator and DEM stands for demodulator. The modulator converts the digital data into analog data. So if there are two computer systems, let's say system A and system B. So here we have system A and here we have system B, and they are connected to each other via wire. So whatever is there, the information is there in system A, initially it has to be converted into an analog form so that it can be transferred via the wire or via cables and received by B. Now whenever it is received by B, it simply cannot work with the analog signals that are present within that it has received. It has to convert them back into a digital form. So from the both end we will be needing a modem in order to send and receive and make use of the data or information that is being sent. And as already discussed, a modulator converts digital data into analog data, and the demodulator converts analog data signals into digital data whenever it is received by the computer. So next we have the network topologies. So basically topology refers to the way in which the devices are interconnected to form a network, and it is known as network topology. So whenever some devices, let's say there are 5 devices there, so if there are 5 devices, how we will be connecting those 5 devices or the arrangement in which those 5 devices are connected is known as the topology. So some of the factors which affect topology for a network are: first is cost, second is flexibility, reliability, scalability, ease of installation, and ease of maintenance. So first of all, whenever we are talking about cost, it should be well identified, analyzed, and decided upon whether the overall cost of setting up of that infrastructure exceeds our budget or whether it is suitable for our budget. So we have to decide on cable lengths, distance between different devices, location of the servers, etc. while considering for a network design. The next is flexibility. It should be flexible enough to add more nodes or relocation of the existing nodes. Nodes here essentially refers to the various devices which or computer systems which needs to be connected. Then third important factor is the reliability. It should be designed in such a way that it has minimum downtime. Now downtime refers to the time the system is not available for communication or for use. And most importantly, failure of one of the device, or if one of the device goes down or one of the device is unavailable for use, the rest of the devices should be properly functional and should be properly in use. Otherwise, if failure of one system leads to the failure of the entire system, it will not be a reliable topology. The fourth important factor is scalability. That means it should be able to accommodate more devices into that particular topology without affecting the performance of communication. The fifth important point is ease of installation. It should be easy to install in terms of hardware, software and technical personal requirements, because if it needs extensively or specialized technical people to work with it, then it will be difficult as the maintenance cost would go up. The sixth important point is ease of maintenance, which means troubleshooting, or if there are any problems associated at the later stage, it should be able to be easily identified and maintained upon. So now let us look at the topologies. The network topology primarily is categorized into four different topology: the bus topology, ring topology, star topology and tree-like or mesh topology. So when we are talking about bus topology, the data network with bus topology has a linear transmission cable, usually coaxial, to which many network devices and workstations are attached along the length. So as bus topology, this we call it as a network bus, and all this bus and all the devices are connected to this particular bus. Server is at one end of the bus. When a workstation has to send data, it transmits packets and destination address in its header along the bus. So let's say this is the server, this is situated in one end of the bus, and whenever a data wants to send some information or packet to the server, then it will send via this bus. The data travel in both direction along the bus. So the data whatever you are sending, it can travel in both the directions, and when the destination terminal sees the data, it copies it to the local disk. So whenever suppose the data is the data that one is sending to 2, and it sends via the data bus, I mean the bus that is going, so it goes along the bus, and whenever system 2 sees the data that is intended for it, it will copy that particular packet into its local disk. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? The advantages is it's easy to install and maintain and can be extended easily, because we just have to increase the length of the bus, and we just have to go on in adding the number of devices that we need to communicate. It is very reliable because of single transmission line, and if one of the device is also not working or is out of service, then also the entire setup continues to work with the other devices. Disadvantage is that troubleshooting is difficult because there is no single point of control, and one faulty network can bring the whole network down. So what might happen is, suppose this whatever situation we described is that it is an end device. Now what if sometimes the server might go down, or sometimes some other device within that particular network might go down, to which the data has been intended. So it might lead, it does not always lead, but it might lead to the failure of the entire network. So dumb terminals cannot be connected to the bus. This is another disadvantage of the bus topology. Now talking about ring topology. In ring topology, each terminal is connected to exactly 2 nodes, giving the network a circular shape. So if you look into this picture, it is like a ring. It is like a ring. So it is connected to each other via a particular bus, and it is arranged in an order that it looks like a ring. So data travels in only one predetermined direction. So as bus topology, which has the provision of transmission of data in both direction, in ring topology the data will get transferred or propagate in one predetermined direction only, either clockwise or anti-clockwise. So when a terminal has to send data, it transmits to the neighboring node, which transmits to the next one before further transmission of the data may be amplified. So in this way, the data traverses in the network and reaches the destination node, which removes it from the network. If the data reaches the sender, it removes the data and resends it later. Now suppose system A wants to communicate. So this is system A, and suppose system A wants to communicate with system B. So whenever system A wants to communicate with system B, it will send its data packet to the next particular system available, which will forward it to the next one, and so on and so forth, until and unless it reaches the final destination. Once it reaches system B, it will remove it from the network. Now suppose the system B cannot remove it from the network, it will take several hops and finally reach system A again, and at that time system A will remove it from the network and will resend the packet to system B later. So in this way, it goes on sequentially from one computer system or one device to the next until it reaches the destination. The advantage is that we can use small cable segments which are needed to connect just two nodes, and we do not need to use longer segments. It is ideal for optical fibers as data travels in only one direction, and very high transmission speed is possible. So data can travel at a faster rate because it is suitable for the transfer of data using optical fibers. Disadvantage is that suppose one of the system goes down, so the data will never reach the intended user and the entire system will go down. Here it will definitely go down. Now troubleshooting is difficult as many nodes may have to be inspected before faulty one is identified, and it is difficult to remove one or more nodes while keeping the rest of the network intact. So here what happens is we have to keep checking on with each of the devices so that it does not have any faulty node, and if there is any faulty node existing, it will create difficulty in removing that node or inspecting that node. The next we have is the star topology. So in star topology, server is connected to each of the node and it is done individually. So server is also the central node. So if you look here, so this is basically the server. So this is basically the server and it is connected to each of the nodes individually. So there is no interdependency among the nodes or an interdependency among the systems which are connected to each other. It is the most popular topology for information and voice networks as central node can process data received from source node before sending it to the destination. Now suppose system A wants to communicate with system B, so it does not have to depend on any other node for its transmission. It will straight away send it to the server and the server will process it and find out the destination and send it to B, which is the destination node. So we do not have to depend on the intermediate nodes for sending the data. Now the advantages of star topology is that failure of one node will not affect any other node in the network, and troubleshooting is also very easy because the faulty node can be detected from the central node immediately, and simple access protocols are required because one of the communicating node is always the central node. So we do not have to follow difficult guidelines because we already have guidelines associated with the central node or the server, and we can simply need to go through the guidelines in order to identify any type of vulnerability that might be happening. The disadvantage is that there might be involvement of very long cables which might be expensive, and failure of the central node will bring the entire network down. So we cannot afford to lose the central node. If this does not work, then the other nodes will never be able to communicate with each other. However, if one of the other systems in the network does not work, still the network will continue to work fine with other nodes. The last and the final one is known as the tree topology, which has a group of star networks connected to a linear bus backbone cable, and it incorporates features of both star and bus topology. Tree topology is also called as hierarchical topology, and it forms a hierarchy and a combination of both the star and the bus topology. So as you see in this particular picture, we have a star network, we have a star type of a network, as well as a bus network, which are communicating with each other. So now this is also known as hierarchical because there are different types of hierarchies associated with each of the nodes. What is the advantage of this particular tree-like topology? Existing network can be easily expanded because we can just go on adding this particular topologies one after the another in a hierarchical fashion. Point-to-point wiring for individual segments means easier installation and maintenance. So we do not have to bother much about finding out which is the faulty node or which node is creating a problem, and well suited for temporary network. So if we want to set up a temporary type of a network, then this network is excellent because we can simply move ahead with adding of new network topology into the existing topology. The disadvantage is that we need high technical expertise, and if there is a failure of the backbone cable, then the entire network will go down because everything depends on the backbone cable that it was already there in the bus topology. And it is also an insecure network because the attack, or if there is any vulnerability associated with the backbone cable, then it will be associating vulnerabilities to all the systems that are there in the network, and maintenance is difficult for large networks. So it can be expanded, no doubt, but if you expand it beyond a particular point, then its maintenance will become difficult. One more topology is there, which is known as the mesh topology, and we will discuss it in our next session. However, combination of all these topologies forms the backbone of network topology, where we can either choose between bus, tree, star, ring, or mesh topology depending upon our network requirements. So that is all for this session. Thank you.